The American government, the American leadership class, has been hijacked by truly evil people. No gas means no fertilizer, means no electricity, means no heating. And no fertilizer, of course, means no food. And this is the most evil thing that the United States has ever done. Good morning. How's Europe doing? Not so well today, I see. I woke up this morning to hear about how Nord Stream 2, the pipeline that goes from Russia to Germany through the Baltic, well, I heard that somebody sabotaged it. Yeah, and then within just a few hours after that, Nord Stream 1 also got sabotaged. This means that because of the sabotage, even if all of a sudden magically the Germans and the Russians got to be buddy-buddies, there is no way for Russia to send gas to Germany anymore. And that's off the table forever. The damage apparently is such that it's not going to be like a weekend job that they can fix it. Oh, no. Apparently it's going to be at least months, possibly years, before this can get fixed. It was sabotage, okay? There's never been something like this happen before in these pipelines. The only way to do this is to have an explosion underwater that punches a big old hole and wrecks the pipeline. And that's basically what appears to have happened in both of the pipelines within a 12 or 24-hour period. We have a murder mystery. Somebody killed the gas pipelines, and we have a room full of suspects. You got the Russians, you've got the Germans, you've got the Ukrainians, and you've got the Americans. As I understand it, these pipelines are so deep that you need submarines to actually be able to do this job of sabotage. You can't do it with divers, it's too deep. So you need a submarine to be able to do this damage, so why would the Russians do it? The Russians, they're the ones supplying the gas. They've got this tap, it's a little thing. I've seen pictures. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And all they have to do is, righty-tighty, no more gas. Now, would the Ukrainians do it? Well, most definitely. They, in fact, are the ones who cut the flow of gas to Europe from Russia. Because remember, and don't let anybody fool you, when the special military operation started back in February, and all throughout the conflict, the Russians, Gazprom, kept on sending gas, dispatching gas through the pipelines that went through Ukraine for Gazprom's customers in Poland and Germany and further afield in Europe. And it was the Ukrainians who unilaterally shut down those pipelines. The Germans wouldn't do this sabotage. I don't even know if they have the submarines to do it. And so that leaves the Americans. They have the means and they have the motivation. If there's no Nord Stream 1 or 2, there is simply no way for gas, Russian gas, to flow to Europe for the foreseeable future. And that, of course, means that there is no way for Germany and Europe to make an agreement with Russia. The Europeans, they're not fools, or they're not total fools at least. They're going to realize that the Americans did it. Everybody's going to realize this. It's obvious. And so the Americans, in order in some misguided way to disincentivize the Europeans from ever negotiating a ceasefire with the Russians, they blew up this lifeline to Europe. I think that the Americans, in some idiotic and misguided sense, thought to themselves that if they blew up the pipeline, there would be no way for negotiations to happen between Europe and Russia. And they're going to use all of their social media allies and minions and whatnot to convince the world that the Russians did it. The Russians have no motivation to do this. None whatsoever. They have no need. Because like I said, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. The Americans did it, and by doing this, they have killed the European economy. This is the American declaration of war against Europe. They want Europe to suffer. And I'd always thought to myself before this moment that the Americans were basically just thinking to themselves, we want the gas from Russia to Europe to stop because it'll help put pressure on the Russians. I never truly thought to myself that the Americans would be so cavalier and so evil, and I don't say that word lightly, that they would be so evil and cavalier as to try to deliberately kill the European economy. The Americans did it because they have the means and motivation to do it. And that means the European economy. And what does that mean? It means that the people of Europe are for sure not going to have any gas during this coming winter. No gas means no fertilizer, means no electricity, means no heating. And no fertilizer, of course, means no food. And this is the most evil thing that the United States has ever done. They are trying to deliberately kill an entire continent, the European continent. They are deliberately trying to do this. There is no other way to look at this. There's no other conclusion. It's not merely that they were trying to twist the arm of the Europeans to ensure that they stayed on board. Well, it's not that they wanted to keep the Europeans from making some kind of arrangement with the Russians. No, they are trying to kill the Europeans. This is a declaration of war of the United States against the European people. And the EU, the European government, and the German government for that matter, they're all these minions, these little puppets of the Americans. And what was going on with the Meloni election, in Italy, where all of a sudden you have a right-wing government that comes into power, there's no question that the Italians, they're going to figure out a way to work with the Russians to solve their own energy problems. And that's what the Americans were afraid of, that the Germans would have a change of government or something like this, and they would reestablish ties with Russia, and the gas would flow once again, and so the German people would have heating, would have electricity, would have food. I used to think that it was like a conspiracy theory to think that the Americans wanted to keep the Germans in particular down. There's always been the saying that NATO was created to, scare the Russians, exalt the Americans, and keep the Germans down. I never really thought that. I never really believed it in my bones. Now I do. And now I realize that the Americans will stop at nothing to destroy all of their allies. Because what's really happening is that the Americans, the global American empire is collapsing, and they are lashing out in all directions. And they are even hurting their own allies. The allies that they have in their back pocket, the Germans and the Europeans, man, they are doing everything that the Americans wanted, but that wasn't good enough. The real enemy for the Europeans are the Americans. The Americans want to destroy their continent. And you, American citizens, there isn't a fucking thing you can do about it. Your leadership isn't going to listen to anything that you fucking say. You're a fucking fascist, for crying out loud. So they're not going to listen to you. The American government, the American leadership class, has been hijacked by truly evil people who care nothing for the suffering of the German people or the Europeans generally. Because they realize that since the global American empire is collapsing, they want to pull down all of their allies along with them. It was an American declaration of war against the Europeans. Understand what's going on.